Boris, you are up last here. Hello.
Hey Bart,
How's it going? Where are you playing out of?
good man. How you doing?
Good.
This is out of Mohegan Sun.
Mohegan Sun. I've never been to Mohegan Sun. Isn't that insane? Growing up in New England, yep, I have never been to Mohegan Sun.
You never had an uncle that got you a free room? What the heck?
No, I mean, my aunt used to play poker and she would go mostly to Foxwoods. So I've been
Oh yeah,
there a
yeah.
bunch. But I hear that Mohegan Sun's poker room is actually nicer than Foxwoods, right? Now.
Funny enough, I've never actually been to Foxwoods,
Oh, really?
but the room at Mohegan is definitely very nice. It's a really great open space, and the floors do a great job of running the games over there. Especially when you come from Encore, going down there, it's night and day difference. Even just trying to buy chips, it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, God. Yes. Yeah, don't get me started. So, what's the size of the game you're playing here?
yeah. So it's a 510. I believe the cap is 2,500, but I usually just buy in from 1K to 1,500.
What's the minimum? Is the minimum 500?
500 is minimum. Yeah.
So does this game get off on a regular basis there?
Yeah. So I don't go down there a ton, only on weekends,
Okay.
maybe once a month. But every time I'm down there, the game will open. But in a lot of situations, I'll have to wait. Like if I get on the list at like 10 or 11 in the morning, sometimes the game won't open till like 4 or 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just very dependent. And I try not actually, like you were just talking about the low stakes being rake traps. They always have a ton of 1-2 and like a handful of 2-5 going.
Yeah.
But even the rake on the 2-5 and even like you're saying, the players in terms of how tight they are, I try to just avoid that game if possible.
Well, is 2.5 can you buy in for, is it 1,000 cap?
1K cap. Yeah, 1K cap at the 2-5.
From what I remember about these Indian rooms in Connecticut, the rake, and it is a rake, it's not anything like Encore Boston or anything like California. I mean, I think it's just like kind of a standard 10% up to a $5. I mean, if you're playing a 2-5 game, that's 10% up, 10% up to $5, and it's $1,000 max. That's not bad. You know what I mean? That's really not bad. I mean, the only thing you're going to get that's better is time. Some of these time games, like in Vegas,
Which is exactly what the 510 is. So that's why I
How
try and
much is
stick there. It's only 9.5, which is
not?
amazing.
How much did we pay at Encore? Is it 14?
15 or 12 maybe?
Yeah, yeah, wow, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah, 9.5. That's what we used to pay back in the day at Commerce 1020, like in 2008. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good deal. But I'm just saying that, like, yeah, 2.5 1K cap at a $5 rake, max rake. Sure, you could beat that game for. I mean, listen. I've seen Dave Tuckman. He doesn't really do content for us anymore, but he used to, and obviously he's a commentator for Hustler Casino Live. He had a deal. I had a deal similar to his for a little bit, but he had it for a lot longer, where he was playing. He would get like kind of like rake back, like they'd pay him to play at the bike
Oh, okay.
while he was commentating for Live at the Bike. So he had like 3,000 hours in a 5.5. It's a 300 to 1,000 game. He beat the game for $70 an hour, and that was with a $6 flat drop. So believe me, it's doable. I mean, you can, obviously the game's soft, but I mean, you could certainly beat 2.5 for over $50 an hour. That's a top win rate, but I'm just saying that rake trap really is the smaller,
Right.
where the rake is still the same. The other thing that thing at Chasers and Encore is like, and I know you get it back, but these promos, they're just taking dollars everywhere. High hand promo, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right.
That's the other great thing about the 510. You are not paying for the high hands or bad beats or anything, but they do have that promo rake at the 2.5 level. And it's not that the game's not beatable. It's a lot of flatting and a lot of multi-way pots. And like you said, it's way more focused on just getting value from good hands.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of very tight players. It seems like all the action goes to the 510 or the 2.5 PLO.
Interesting. All right. So how deep are you in this hand?
So 2,800 effective. I'm covered by the main villain.
Okay.
And this hand is honestly pretty embarrassing. I butcher it pre-flop, but it makes for some interesting later streets. So
Okay.
let me just hop into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I raise King of Hearts, King of Spades, under the gun to $30.
Is that about the standard open size?
Yeah, especially I'll adjust it depending on what types of players are in the game. Sometimes this game will have a lot of multi-way pots as well, but today it was all heads up, a lot of 3 bets and 4 bets. Basically all solid players except for one guy who seemed kind of whaley.
Okay.
So yeah, keeping the open pretty small, just to 3x. And so yeah, I go 30 and +1 directly to my left, who is the only player in the game that I know is a pro and I've played with before, flats without looking at his cards. It just flats very quickly. And every other time he'd entered the pot, he had 3-bet. And it set off alarm bells, even though it probably shouldn't have.
What do you mean? I mean, he's looked at his cards. You mean it was just a really quick flat?
He just like, I look at him as soon as I act, and then he just throws in the chip. Like, I assume he had already seen his cards, but.
So what, did you get the vibe that he was like trapping you or something?
Yes, 100%. With all the 3-bets and 4-bets, I 100% thought this guy was setting a trap. Like aces, ace, king, something like that, looking for a back raise. Anyways, folds around to the button, who is that whale I mentioned, and he's been 3-betting once or twice every rotation. He 3-bets to 105.
From what? From the button? So this way,
Yeah.
so the spot, we'll call him the VIP.
Yeah.
VIP button to 105.
Yeah. And then the small blind, cold 4-bets to 305.
Wow.
I have no background with this guy at all.
So the small blind cold 4-bets to 305?
Yeah.
I mean, wow, this is crazy. I mean,
yeah.
All right, so let's take a look. So you thought it was a little bit strange that the +1 guy, you just had these spidey senses. This is important to this. If I can sort of transpose myself in this hand, kind of from a live poker perspective. You already think something's weird going on from +1.
Yeah.
The flatter. Then this VIP guy, whatever VIP guy, squeezed to 105. Now some unknown dude, cold 4-bets to 305. I mean, normally it's kind of a weird, awkward setup, right? Like in terms of
100%.
where you are, because, 5-betting. But I mean, your background to this hand makes me want to flat this 4-bet more so I can see what the +1 guy's going to do. Because
right.
If you flat and then the +1 guy like back raise 5-bets and then the small blind like gets it all in, then you could fold. You know what I mean? We're not talking about folding kings that much pre-flop, in this game, but then it sets up as a fold, right?
All right.
So now, because normally you'd be like, well, when you open to 30 and then the +1 guy flats, the sheer dollar amount of the cold 4-bet, like you don't have to worry about the +1 guy like double flatting the cold 4-bet. I'm talking about if this other thing wasn't going on, right? So it's not like you need to drive the people out. And then with the VIP, like, I mean, it sounds to me like you might be happily to get in with the VIP, but it's 100%. Like, well, I guess if you call, that would give, the VIP a price also to call. So then you'd have to take king, 3 ways. But then if you 5-bet here, what would the 5-bet size be? And would you ever consider 5-bet folding? Because if you went to like, say,
like 750.
750, yeah, 750, are you going to fold if the small blind comes back over the top?
I have crazy odds at that point. Like that was exactly what I was worried about. I felt like if I 5-bet here, even though I should probably be doing that often with all the multi-way action, that I'd just be pot committed if +1 or the small blind rejams. And again, like you said, the whale rejams, or the VIP rejams, I'm 100% going with it. Like not worried about that at all.
So Daniel L says you can never call. Well, I'm advocating for call here, actually. I don't think it's terrible to call. Nate's saying that you could just jam.
It felt like it was a little too deep to just jam it in there with 2,800.
Well, you just 5-bet call off. Then I mean, if you feel like it's too deep, see, I think you might have stack depth, whether or not you want a 5-bet fold or 5-bet call. It looks like you have enough stack depth where you could not break like the 30% threshold, so that it would appear that there would be full equity. But then again, like even if you do that, though, are you really ever 5-bet folding? You know what I mean? You're never having that as a bluff. So it's like, you know what I mean? The reason why I'm advocating for calling a lot in this spot is because of the background that he's giving about the +1 guy. Because I feel like the caller could actually get let off the hook because of what he thinks the +1's going to do here. Because if +1 comes and back raise 5-bets here, he can fold his hand, right? And he's only put in 305.
Or if +1 folds and the VIP rejams, I can get it in, or even I mean, that was my one question. If the small blind rejams, like I probably just have to get it in as well. I'm not really sure.
What you mean, like against a back raise, or if
like if the whale, or sorry, if the VIP were to go all in and then the small blind calls it off, and then it's back to me.
I don't know, man. I mean, that's one of those things where it's
crazy spot.
So what did you do?
Yeah, I ended up calling, and this is what I was saying I was embarrassed about. So I'm a
Yeah.
little less embarrassed now that. But anyways, yeah, I just call, and shockingly, +1 and the button both fold.
So, all right. So +1 and the button fold. Okay.
Yeah, my spidey senses were way off, and now I'm in this crazy spot post flop.
Well, I mean, it's not that. I mean, so your head's up in position, right? And you
Yeah,
called
it's
four.
not that bad.
I mean, if you had opened, I'm trying to think of like another. Well, I mean, put it this way: like even if you had opened, like, I'll give you an extreme example where if you opened from under the gun with King King,
Mhm.
and it got folded all the way around in the small blind 3-bet, right? You're probably not even supposed to 4-bet King King like 100%. Well, it's just, it's such a very, very extreme configuration.
Right.
That King King is not always a 4-bet. I mean, we talk about that, Ace Ace put in the 4-bet, Ace King suits put in the 4-bet. So I don't think it's that crazy because you could find yourself in a similar spot with King King just calling against somebody. The only thing I would say about this dynamic is that if the VIP guy is really all that whaley, like maybe the small blind thinks he's like out to lunch and splashing around. So the small blind might actually be a little bit wider than you think here. So
Right.
all right, so you and the small blind put in 305, so that's 610. The button put in 105, right? So that's 715. The other guy, and then the other guy flatted, so it's like 750.
Right.
All right,
yeah,
to the flop. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and one more question about the pre-flop. So, assuming we don't have any knowledge and like we're not saying the small blind's 4-betting wider than he should be, is this like tens plus, jacks plus? Like what would the correct cold 4-betting range from the small blind be here? Like, is it even tighter than that?
Well, I mean, it should never be a cold call, right? So he's just going to be V-pipping whatever, whatever he's V-pipping is going to be cold 4-bet. So put yourself in that spot. Again, maybe it affects it from the fact that this guy is splashy and a whale. Put it this way, like I could definitely see folding Jack against like two tight players.
Yeah.
Like if an under the gun guy opened and then another guy who's not out of line 3-bet, you could fold Jack. If you're playing a 4-bet or, 4-bet or fold strategy, you could fold.
Yeah.
Jack. It's funny because we put up the Doug Polk video with the guy Alex today on our YouTube. And I was making fun of a guy in the comments who said, Jack is a pure fold to a UTG open and a +1, 3-bet, which maybe it is on the charts. I mean, you're never going to do that on a live stream, but yeah, it should be pretty tight. But then, maybe he's got some bluffs too, right?
Right.
So maybe Jack, maybe 10-10, an ace king, maybe some ace queen suited, king queen suited,
I'm asking specifically like 10-10 because that'll come into play. I'll just go to the flop.
Probably pretty close. Yeah.
Flop is 10-8 deuce with 2 diamonds.
10-8 deuce.
And I figured I'm not really worrying about eights here ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cold 4-bet.
Mm-hmm.
So small blind bets 200, and I just call. Would you ever raise here?
Well, you definitely are allowed to raise some of the time, and that was one of the things that I kind of wondered from the video that we put out today with Alex, because that was a 5-bet pot against Doug Polk in that $700,000 pot where he had Jack, and he got a board kind of similar to this. And of course, Polk started sort of with a small bet. And I was thinking, because we kind of washed over like what are supposed to be raised, but like kings needs less protection than like a hand like Jack. I mean, Jack or, queen here. He's actually betting what, 28% of the pot here. I mean, I think I would do a lot of calling here too, the higher the overpair. So it's 1150 now, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And so the turn, pretty bad card, not one I want to see. It's Queen of Diamonds.
Right. So Queen of Diamonds on the turn, obviously an overcard and a third diamond here, and hero with King of Hearts, King of Spades. Okay. Now what?
He bets 500, and I call.
Well, I don't think you can fold, obviously, to like a half pot size bet or a little bit under. It's interesting that sizing.
So in the hand, my plan was to try and play a bit of Fifth Street Chicken. I hadn't seen this guy do any triple barrels, definitely not any cold 4-bet triple barrels. So I figured if he had any bluffs, he might shut down on the river, and maybe I could get to showdown.
So he bets 500 into 1150. Hero calls. Again, looking at the math here, the pot's going to be 2150, and you guys have put in, about 1,000. So I mean, you have like 1,500 left, right? And the pot's 2150, right?
Right.
In your stack. So I mean, that's what 75%. If I was the villain and I had a hand like that I was trying to take for 3 streets, I would actually size up just a hair here, because I wouldn't want to leave. I probably would have gone 6, because if he goes like say 6 or 700, then say he goes even just 600, then the pot's 2350 and you guys have like 1,400 left. It's kind of like a 2/3. I don't know. It's kind of if I'm trying to do value, because it's a 4-bet pot and the ranges are so kind of like condensed.
Right.
That a lot of times like these cards don't affect all that much, except of course that queen is very represented here.
Yeah. That's like you said, that the ranges are so condensed, and like queens and potentially jacks are such a huge part of it that and also, I mean, unlikely, but ace king of diamonds is in there as well.
Ace king of diamonds, ace jack of diamonds, something like that.
Yeah.
But he could also have ace king with the ace of diamonds too, right?
Right.
Ace king with the ace of diamonds again, which I still think would want to bet a little bit on the larger side. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. That sizing seems a little bit small with your stack sizes from your opponent, I mean.
Right.
All right, so it's 2150, and it's 10-8 deuce, 2 diamonds, turns a queen of diamonds. Okay.
Yeah, and the river is queen of hearts.
So that means that there's less likely. I mean, you look at that card before the opponent does anything. Obviously, there's less of a chance that he has pocket queens, right? There's one call about pocket queens, and the only thing that would change on the other side would be is somehow if he ran into a queen, which basically almost seems impossible, because he'd have to have like. I mean, I guess he could have like ace queen suited, or I mean, like ace queen off with if he 4-bet that ace queen off, or like ace queen suited that he started to bet with whatever the backdoor suit was, and then he just continued to bet turn when he hit it, just because he knows that there aren't that many flushes. So maybe once in a great while he might have a queen. He obviously can have a flush here too, and then how about aces though? Like so. The other interesting thing here, especially if he's got aces with the ace of diamonds, this is a great run out for aces with the ace of diamonds. From your opponent's perspective, it just makes it so easy to go for all 3 streets, right? Because he's not concerned about you having queens as much anymore, right?
Right.
I mean, sure, you could have 10s. I mean, but that's if you are there with 10s, because the range. I mean, it's
That was one of my biggest questions to you, honestly, was if you thought he should be going for 3 streets with aces here.
If he's got aces with the ace of diamonds, it definitely should be 3 streets. In a 4-bet pot like this, absolutely.
And so just that's basically what I was considering, just going over and over in my head. Like, even though it's such a relatively thin value range, even if he is going for 3 streets with aces, like 3 combos of 10s, 1 combo of queens, 1 combo ace king of diamonds, I guess ace jack of diamonds maybe. But then, like, it's a very thin value range, but I just really couldn't name many reasonable bluffs.
So what did he do at the end here?
Yeah, he jammed.
So he jams for 1,500. So the pot's 36, and it's 1,500 for you to call. So you're getting about 2.5 to 1 here. I mean, if he's structuring correctly, like the only bluffs that, that would, I guess, make sense would be what, like ace king with the ace of diamonds.
Right.
Ace king with the ace of diamonds, and obviously you have 2 kings, so that's not going to be very likely.
Right.
That's 2 combos: ace of diamonds, king of clubs, and well, no, actually, because the other combo is ace of diamonds, king of diamonds, which you lose to. Right? There's only one offsuit. There can only be one offsuit combo of ace king, right? Ace of diamonds, king of clubs, because you got king of hearts, king of spades in your hand, and ace of diamonds, king of diamonds is a flush, right?
Right.
Wow. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole and you can say, well, what if you had like ace jack suited with a backdoor, which would turn a double gutter, actually, 10-8 deuce, right? Ace jack, like say it was 10-8 deuce, 10-8 deuce, 2 diamonds. I'm going to put out, just to make it easier on the flop, I'm going to put out a club out there. So 10-8 deuce, 2 diamonds, and a club turns a queen of diamonds. So say he had like ace jack of clubs, right? Or something like that. But I mean, honestly, like he's probably going to start a C bet with most hands anyways, right? It's not the most connected board, so he could end up with ace. But, the more value that he could have here in the form of like having aces with the ace of diamonds, some flushes, right? Maybe once in a while, 10-10, just maybe like 2 of the 3 combos of 10-10. Once in a while, maybe give him 1 combo of a queen, maybe 2 combos of 10-10, 1 combo of a queen, that's 3. Aces with the ace of diamonds, which is what, like another 3 combos, that's 6. Some flushes, maybe 2 or 3 flushes, that's 8 or 9. You're getting 2.5 to 1. I don't know if you can find like the 4 bluffs or 5 bluffs here that would be needed to make this call. You know what I mean?
Right, 100%. I couldn't even name more than 1 or 2 when I was sitting there tanking, and so I ended up folding.
And it is another. Even another thing too. I mean, I don't know anything about the small blind, but it's just not common to see somebody run a bluff this big.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Did you ever get a reveal?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I was getting ready to move to PLO, and one of the guys that I was watching the hand, since it was crazy action like that, was like asking us about it. Like, where were you at? What hand did you have? The small blind wouldn't say a word, but the pro did tell me he had ace jack suited. So that's the one thing.
Ace jack suited. Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of them.
Yep, it makes sense.
But you'd have to be like, well, I mean, how does that sort of play in though? Because you're like, well, does that mean that would he start all the ace jack suited bets on the flop? I mean, if he did, he would certainly continue on the turn. So that's 4. But I mean, do we know that he always does that with ace jack suited? Again, the point that I'm trying to make is that like I still find a lot of value here and not many bluffs.
Right.
Especially with your combo of kings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the worst.
And like you said, I didn't have much background, but I hadn't seen him run any crazy triple barrels, and he seemed like a solid winning reg. So I think I just had to fold this one. I was just beating myself up mostly for not making it a lot easier, either raising the flop or 5 betting it pre.
He meant the other player in the hand that folded ace jack suited. Chris Klein said, "No, you're saying
yeah. The +1 guy had ace jack suited. I don't know what the small blind had.
Oh, I thought the small blind. You said the small blind had ace jack suited. My bad.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
He wouldn't say a word to me. He was listening to us talk about the hand for like 10 minutes and just staring us down.
Then you probably made a good fold then.
Yeah, most likely.
I mean,
and even if he did say
in terms
jack,
of,
I don't know if I'd believe him.
good fold in terms of results, right? But I mean, if that's the hand that we find as the bluff and the other guy is the one that has ace jack suited, then
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.